In this video, we're going to be looking at how we can perform calculations with reducing balance loans, but more so looking at long-term calculations. So not step-by-step recurrence relations, but long-term calculations. And to do this, we use a program called Finance Solver on our calculator. So I guess the first thing is to know how to find that program, and I've got the CAS just off to the right here. So when you go to the main menu screen of the calculator, across sort of on the second page, and you can tap across along the bottom there to get to the second page of applications. The Financial Solver one looks like this. It's got the yellow icon. So you click on this, and if you haven't gone into the finance application before, you'll get to this menu, and then you need to click on Compound Interest. And this is the screen that we do our Finance Solver calculations in. It's a really good idea to make sure your settings are correct, because if your settings are wrong, you won't get the right answers. So when you go into the program, if you click on Format, this little tab down the bottom, just make sure that it says odd period off and payment date end of period. If it says anything different to those two things, then just change it with the drop down menu so that it says off and end of period. All right, so let's get into what all the stuff in Finance Solver means and how we actually use this program. Okay, so on this section here, and the stuff on these sort of on this video is all just taken directly from our notes. We've got a description of all of the letters, all the inputs that we need for Finance Solver. So N stands for the number of time periods. So if you've got a loan or something that's happening over, say 48 months, then N would be 48. I is the annual interest rate, and you only have to give the annual interest rate. You don't have to divide by 12 if it's compounding monthly or anything like that. So it's just the annual interest rate that you put in. PV stands for principal value, and principal value is usually in a loan. It's the amount of money that you borrow from the bank at the start. PMT stands for payment. That's the amount paid each time period. So if you're repaying the loan each month or each week, that's the amount of money that you will have to pay. FV stands for future value, so that's what the balance of the account is going to be at some point in the future. Often if we're trying to work out when the loan's fully paid off, we'll put the future value in as 0, because that means that you owe $0. P/Y stands for payments per year, and C/Y stands for compounding periods per year. So for example, if we're making monthly payments, then the payments per year will be 12. If the interest is compounding monthly, then the compounding periods per year will be 12. And in the questions we do in further maths, those two numbers will always be the same. So if one of them's 12, the other one will be 12. If one of them's 52, the other one will be 52, and so on. Okay, before we get into any examples and actually practice using this program, a really, really important point is we often have to input some numbers as negative numbers and some numbers as positive numbers. And to remember which ones are which, this is how you can think of it. Anytime we're putting money into the bank, that's negative, right? It's like we're losing that money, we're giving it to the bank. But anytime money is going to be received from the bank, so anytime we're going to get money from the bank, that's a positive number. So think of it like money going to the bank is negative, money coming from the bank is positive. All right, let's get into an example and we'll see how it works. So, example C1, Frank borrows $400,000 from the bank at an interest rate of 6.4% per annum, compounding monthly. He wants to amortize, which means pay off completely, his loan in 25 years. The question is, how much will he need to repay each month? So when we look at each bit of information in the question, hopefully what we're going to be able to do is start to take these values from the question and put them into Financial Solver. So, first thing that we're told is that he's borrowing $400,000. So that's our principal value, that's our PV. And we're going to put it in as a positive number, because when you borrow money from the bank, that money is coming to you. Okay, so remember that money coming to you is a positive number. Okay, at an interest rate of 6.4% per annum, so I is 6.4, compounding monthly, right? So compounding periods per year is 12, and he wants to pay off the loan. So we're talking about paying off the loan until it's completely gone. There's no more money owing. So that means the future value is 0, right? So pay off means the future value is 0 in 25 years. Now be careful with this one. So for the number of time periods, we're tempted to say that would be 25, but remember that he's making monthly payments here. So it's actually 25 lots of 12 payments. So 25 times 12 is the total number of time periods. Now, if you can't work that out in your head, not a big deal, because you can actually just type 25 times 12 into Finance Solver and it'll calculate that for you. So it's 300 payments in total. And the other one that I've forgotten to change here was the payments per year, right? And that was 12 because the question's saying how much will you need to repay each month? So the one thing that we don't know is the payment size. And with Finance Solver, as long as there's only one thing missing, it will always be able to calculate it. So we've been able to put in all the other values except for the payment. That's the thing that we're trying to find out. And to find that out, you tap PMT and that number will appear. So that number there that's negative 2,675.887507, that is the size of the monthly payment. The reason that it's a negative number is because that money is going to be going to the bank. And remember that when we pay money to the bank, that's a negative in Finance Solver, okay? So the reason that it's negative is because it's indicating that that's money that we, or that in this case Frank, has to give to the bank. All right, so just to summarize that, there's a copied version of all the inputs. And his monthly repayment is, when we round it to the nearest cent, is $2,675.89. And even though that it comes up as a negative number in Finance Solver, we just give our answer as a positive number. His payment is that much money. Okay, and as always, if your answer's money and there's no other instruction about rounding, then always just go to the nearest cent. So 2 decimal places there. All right, we do have a couple of other examples of using Finance Solver, but I'll put that into a new video because this one's already pretty long. So I'll see you in the next one.